All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be doing yet another comparison review. This time of two beers from Tröegs Independent Brewing, and they're out of Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we have their Nugget Nectar and their Double Nugget Nectar, and both of these are the 2023 release. So, Nugget Nectar is what they are calling an Imperial Amber Ale that comes in at 7.5% alcohol by volume and 93 IBUs, while Double Nugget Nectar, they're calling a Double Imperial Amber Ale that comes in at 9.5% alcohol by volume and no IBUs. Listen, time of review, I don't know exactly how old either of these cans are, but they both have best by dates on the bottom of the can, and the regular Nugget Nectar has a best by date of May 16th of 2023, while the Double Nugget Nectar has a best by date of May 19th of 2023. So they are probably both kind of canned within 3 days of one another, I would imagine, if not very close by, relatively close in the freshness, and that's all I care about. So anyway, yeah, so full disclosure, I've had Nugget Nectar so many times before. I reviewed this back in 2019. I have a little bit of story time in that one, talking about, you know, my history with the beer, more or less, to make a long story short. This was one of the first hop forward beers I've ever had. I hated it, and then 2 or 3 years later, I loved it. Well, not loved it, but I liked it. I typically give this one like a 4.05, 4.1 out of 5. I really do enjoy it. Double Nugget Nectar, however, I've never had before. I know they released it last year. Didn't show up here in the Buffalo, New York area. Then I saw it getting released again. A lot of my friends on tap started drinking it, and I'm like, I hope that it shows up here. And it did. So I thought it'd be fun to do a comparison of both of these beers. They're essentially not exactly the same, but I mean, this is a bigger version of this. Now, hops in regular Nugget Nectar, they're using Nugget, Warrior, Tomahawk, Simcoe, and Palisade. And then in Double Nugget Nectar, they're using Simcoe, Azacca, Columbus, and Nugget. They both have a little bit of spiel here talking about it, but they do talk about tasting it. So I'll read them at the end if I remember. It's not a big deal. It's pretty much just a write-up from their website, I would assume, or from Untappd or whatever. So let's crack them, open them, get a pour into the glasses here. Try to use the exact same size glasses and whatnot. I'm only going to pour about half into these because I kind of want to do, you know, your typical cuvee, the cuvee at the end where I mix them together. So I want to leave some in each can in case I like them by themselves, because then I can drink both of these and not have it ruined from the cuvee. So something like that, and then we'll do this and we'll go like this. Is that about the same? Probably like that. Is that good? And maybe a little bit more into here. Something like that. All right, that should be fine. I'm cheating here because it's going down the side. Doesn't really matter, no. So I'm really excited about both of these. Again, Nugget Nectar is one of those beers that for many years people just love. It's only released once a year. Same thing with the Double Nugget Nectar. So let's do a little bit of a swirl here, try to get the heads going, and we will hold them up to the... All right, so right off the rip, Double Nugget Nectar, definitely darker. If I hold them up to the lights, yeah, this has more of like a reddish hue. This is more like a deep golden color, almost like rust color. I don't want to say amber because it doesn't approach amber. This is definitely more in the reddish side of things. As far as clarity, both have, you know, you can see your hand through the side of it to some degree, but it has like a slight haze to both of them. Both of the heads very creamy looking. I would say this one is holding its head better, and it's a little bit of more of like a light, I'd say like a light tan almost, and this is more cream color. This is more light tan. So yeah, I would say they look somewhat similar, but this definitely looks a bit darker. So let's get a nose on the OG. Yeah, so it's pretty much what I remember this beer being. It's, again, they say Imperial Amber Ale. It's the hoppiest Imperial Amber Ale I've ever had. It has that caramel, that bready, almost like slightly toasted like brown bread. Or more maybe like a toasted white bread, but there's caramel malt for sure. It just has a big malt presence, but then there's a ton of pine sap. There's stone fruits, mango and peach mostly, a little bit of pineapple. Beautiful underlying citrus kind of nose. There's more of like a white grapefruit, not sweeter kind of citrus. It's not like you had a ruby red grapefruit or a pink grapefruit with like sugar on it. It's just like a straight on white grapefruit. Maybe a touch of orange. Yeah, that smells pretty much akin to every single time I've had it, which is nice. It just has that old school kind of feel. Now let's go over to a Double Nugget Nectar. Wow, what the okay. What, this is like punching me in the nose. Like the fact that it's 2% bigger and slightly fresher, I don't think it's probably more the ABV than the freshness. It's everything this beer is, but like amplified. And I would say there's a nice sweetness coming through here. It's almost 10%. But then there's this sharp, almost like acidic kind of grapefruit nose. It's crazy. Yeah, so this is more, I think this is more like citrus heavy, and this is a little bit more like tropical stone fruit heavy. You're getting sweeter pineapple, mango, peach, apricot. Ooh, this does smell like pink grapefruit that somebody sprinkled sugar on. And I don't think the malt, despite it being 2% higher, is coming through as strong as this. Yeah, this is more like a malty. So a lot of times when you get faded, or at least when I would get faded, Imperial IPAs mostly, a lot of times they will taste like orange marmalade on like white bread. And that's kind of what the nose I'm getting here. And this isn't faded. This is relatively fresh. But that's just kind of the Imperial Amber Ale, like hop forward kind of nature of this beer. And that's always smelled like that to me. This is different. And I much prefer the double one. Wow, I didn't think it would be that drastic. Anyway, if we're going to go with aromas, 100% Double Nugget Nectar, without question. Better to me than regular Nugget Nectar. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. There's something to be said for Nugget Nectar. While being 7.5%, it's so incredibly smooth and easy to drink. And I didn't think so. Like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I didn't think that. I thought this tasted like trash. Actually, the first time I had it might have been like 12 years ago, now maybe 13. But this is completely different to my palate now than it was originally. Body's medium, touch over medium. Body, nice, appropriate. Mouthfeel, a lot smoother than I remember. It does have a nice, like, mild to moderate carbonation. Definitely, has carbonation, you can tell, but it has a real nice, smooth, almost creamy presence on the finish. The taste, very akin to the nose. Maybe a little bit more malt driven though. Right up front, getting that caramel. I'm getting that like white bread. Dives underneath the palate, omnipresent with you the entire way. But then I get the citrus. It's more, again, of like a white grapefruit, straight up like tangerine. Passes through, there's a little bit of like an underripened peach, mango, apricot, stone fruit. Now I'm back to palate. I'm hit with like a pine sap, pine resin. This one finishes semi to full on dry with a moderate bitterness. But I would actually say it's on the lower side of moderate bitterness. I remember this one being a little bit more bitter. I don't know if this is my palate or what. I mean, I've had this beer like 3-4 months old before, and it was like, pretty bitter. On my palate right now, again, it's lower side of moderate bitterness, and it's so sweet up front with that malty goodness that it really does balance out quite well. It's Nugget Nectar. I think the difference between this year's release and prior releases, at least for what I'm smelling and tasting, I think this is a little bit more malt forward and not as bitter, and I don't think the fruits are popping as much, but it's much easier to drink, like just much softer and easier on the palate. It's solid stuff. It's always, I should say it's more solid. It's a good beer. And that's why I always give it like a 4.05 or 4.1. I love that it hides the alcohol relatively well nowadays. And the fact that it's reasonably priced too when we talk about the price point. I think it's pretty good. So, rating, we'll wait until the end after I go into the double one, just to let me sit here and think about it. Let's get into this one. Cheers, everyone. I'm not making that face because I don't like them. I'm confused at what's happening right now. So the nose didn't give that indication like this is just a bigger version of this beer. I thought this was like kind of its own thing in the nose. I was talking about how it's sweeter, just had like a different kind of feeling to it. But now I taste it. It's kind of like this beer, just like a little bit fuller body. This is like lower side of I'd say higher side of medium, lower side of full, where this is like medium to higher side of medium, so it's a little bit bigger. The mouthfeel, very similar. It has good carbonation too, like moderate carbonation, but it's smooth, it's somewhat creamy. But the taste, it's very akin to this one, just, again, a little bit more amplified. I think it's a little bit more sweet in terms of the fruits. So while this didn't have like a big sweet fruit kind of component, this has more of like that, again, sprinkling sugar onto a pink grapefruit, ruby red grapefruit, or maybe like even like a peach gummy ring, something like that, as opposed to like an underripened peach or underripened mango. It's more like candied peach, candied mango. So front of the palate, again, citrus, a little bit sweeter. That bready caramel thing dives underneath the palate just like this. Halfway through, you're hit with stone fruits, or I'm hit with stone fruits, but it's more, again, candied, peach gummy rings, candied mango, candied apricot, maybe even like dried apricot, something like that. Second half of the palate, this doesn't have as much of a huge pine quality as this. This is a little bit more dank to me than pine. And I'll say this, 9.5%, I really can't tell. Like, there's no substantial warming in the chest or on the palate compared to this. They both hide the alcohol extremely well. I would just say for 9.5%, I would definitely go with this one, and I like a little bit of that candied peach gummy ring, candied mango feel about a third way through the palate or halfway through the palate, as opposed to this. The base doesn't have that kind of character, so I think I enjoy it a little bit more here. This has a semi full-on dry finish. This has the same bitterness this does, like a lower side of moderate. So they're both really good for what they are, but I would go with the double just based on what I'm drinking here. I think it's 9.5%. I really can't tell. It's substantially higher than this. And I like that candied fruit aspect, and I think everything else is pretty much even. So yeah, let's go rating. We'll rate individually. We'll go first, a regular old Nugget Nectar, the 2023. I always have to get the... It doesn't matter. I'm going to give this, again, a high 4 out of 5. I'll go 4.1 out of 5. I think that's pretty much where this goes every year to varying degrees. This is where it lands for me. So yeah, it's a 4.1. Now, Double Nugget Nectar, however, is going to get a little bit of a higher rating. I am going to give this a, we'll go low 4.25. We'll go 4.2. I think that candied stone fruit vibe, and then the fact that it hides the alcohol pretty well is, doing its job for, I think, what you're kind of looking for. If you're going to compare these two, put it this way, what's the point of picking this up over this when it's a little bit more expensive and it comes in a bigger vessel? I think it's a little bit better and worthy of grabbing it over this. Now, when you take everything in consideration, I don't know where I would go. Anyway, let's do the cuvee, and then we'll talk. Well, let's do price and availability as I do the cuvee. So we'll do the cuvee here. A cuvee, are they even here? Yeah, a little bit more out of this. So price point on both of these. The regular Nugget Nectar was $2 a can. I think it was like, right around $12 a six-pack. So you're talking 72 ounces for $12 in my neck of the woods. And then the double one was $18 a four-pack. So you're talking $18 for 64 ounces. So with the Nugget Nectar, you're getting 8 less ounces for $6 less. Or sorry, you're getting 8 more ounces for $6 less. The problem is you're not getting as much ABV-wise. Which one do I prefer? It all depends. If I was going with one single can like I am right now, I would go the double, even with the higher price point. If you took into consideration like an actual 4 6-pack, I'd go with the regular Nugget Nectar because you're getting a better value. And availability, wherever you see Tröegs, you should see these, although with the double it might be a little bit harder, but this comes out every year, usually late winter, early spring, and you should be able to find it. So anyway, so we're looking here. Yeah, so it took on more of that, I think, of the Double Nugget Nectar. It has more now of an amber color. Yeah, same thing, a little bit of haze, about a half finger of a tan-colored head, very creamy looking. Let's get nose. I'm going to taste. I'm just going to go ham in it. Yeah, it smells very akin to both of them. It's like you combined them because you did. Let's get a taste. Cheers. I didn't cleanse the palate, so we'll do that. I like that. I think the cuvee is a winner. Wow, I shit you not. Cuvees are hit or miss. It's probably a 50-50 split of, does it improve one of the beers or both of the beers, or does it substantially detract? Sometimes I've had cuvees that are just gross. Sometimes I have them that are awesome. This is in the awesome range. It has basically taken the best of both worlds. It has that candied kind of stone fruit vibe, but I'm getting more pine, which I prefer here than the dankness. And for some reason, it doesn't seem as sweet as either of them. way more drinkable. And since you did a 50-50 split, I'd imagine it's 8.5%, right? This, to me, is the best of both worlds. I'm going to give the Cuvée a high 4.25, I'll go 4.3. I think I like it better than either of them on their own. And honestly, I'm going to drink the rest of both of these. I'm probably going to pour them in and just drink them together. This surprisingly good. If you have both of these on hand, try a Cuvée. The winner for me is the Double Nugget Nectar, but the Cuvée beats both of them, and that's crazy. All right, so I'm going to shut it down. Not much more to say. At the end of the day, if you can get either of these beers or both of them, do so. Check them out for yourself. They're really good Imperial Amber Ales or Red IPAs or whatever the hell you want to call them. They're hop forward Imperial Amber Ales is what they are. This is the double version. If you can get both, do a side-by-side like this. If you can get singles, buy a can of each, do them head-to-head, and see what you prefer. Again, the double is my winner, but like, again, if I was going for something where I wanted to, session it or whatever, it'd definitely be the regular. And yeah, if you've had either of these or both of them, have you done this before? Post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this one. I'm starting to feel a little bit alcohol-wise, even though I really can't taste either of them. I'm starting to like get a little woozy here, and I'm gonna go down for the count. Not really. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it, and yeah, I can't wait to do more comparison reviews, especially when it's beers like this where you get the Imperial version or maybe a slight variant or something. They're always fun to compare. So anyway, to the next one. Cheers.